Hello, how are you? Welcome back. Today I have for you an absolute legend. The Yokomo MR-4 TC Custom. Full on, ticks all the boxes, full fat, bona fide classic. Proper race car. One of the best race cars ever made actually. From about 20 plus years ago. A few years ago I gave it a complete overhaul. It was in a really sorry state. It'd been raced, it had been crashed, my girlfriend had it, she put it into a wall, it had bits hanging off it, it was abandoned at the bottom of a cupboard, completely forgotten about. It had mismatched screws everywhere, it even had mismatched components, it was just a mess. But it deserved better, so I gave it a full overhaul. You see here, this is a Tamiya the Ferrari. I wanted a Ferrari shell since the old one was a Ferrari F50. Just keep it traditional, I guess. All new electronics, new rear bell. I'm not sure about the front bell, I can't remember if the rear one was destroyed. New pulley, new top deck, new wishbones at the back here, possibly new tie rods, and I'm not sure what else. There was a lot, but I can't really remember, it was a few years ago. But anyway, it looks good now, it looks lovely now. MR-4 TC Custom. Why is it called that? Well, it's the successor to the MR-4 TC, and it was custom. You could customize everything. This is extremely modular, this car. It's fantastic. You can just replace loads of stuff, and Yokomo had lots of in-house upgrades available for it. You could change loads of stuff. You could make your custom different to everybody else's. And it was replaced by the MR-4, or succeeded by the MR-4 TC Special, which was very much the same platform, but it had a narrower deck, narrower chassis, and it meant all the electronics was even more inboard. The motor mount was even more central, so it was very thin, very central with the weight distribution, very quick at changing direction. You could convert this one into a TC Special, and that's actually a TC Special top deck. Yeah, it's awesome. It's so modular. Changed different style of wishbones and all sorts. It was cool. It was back then. I mean, it sounds quite standard nowadays. You know, okay, you can change bits, fair enough. But back in the day, having in-house components where you can really fully reconfigure a race car, it was quite radical. It was cool, really cool. So it's an awesome car. Handles wonderfully. It has everything you need. I mean, obviously, a modern car has even more adjustability, and it also doesn't have some of the mod cons that a modern race car has, like a floating servo. Or actually, yes, it does. It's got a floating servo. Wow. Okay. So 20 plus year old race car has a floating servo mount. In case you're wondering why that is, if you mount a servo directly onto the chassis, that part of the chassis has no rigidity. Sorry, it has all the rigidity, no flex, because the servo is essentially part of the chassis then. So you have it floating on the two mounts. It means that part of the chassis has the same amount of flex as elsewhere, essentially. Anyway, you can configure the flex on different modern chassis. So it doesn't have adjustable flex. It doesn't have all the adjustability you could ever want. For example, rear toe isn't adjustable. But it does have quite a lot going for it. It has wonderful shock absorbers, oil-filled, adjustable aluminium bodies. It has diaphragms, it has bleed caps, it has everything you need, and they're super smooth. They're lovely. And when I compared this thing, I wanted it to handle properly. I wanted to have it set up lovely to get it to really change direction, and my goodness does it handle. First time we took it out, the only time we've taken it out with these brushless electronics in it, took it on the street with my girlfriend there, and I would say on rails, except trains physically can't change direction that quickly or they will derail themselves. It was like on rails plus house fly. It was awesome. It was so darty, so front end planted. Just followed the front end, it was amazing. However, it was slow as dirt. It was so slow. Okay, to give you some backstory, we raced touring cars at a little club that I started with my friends and Matthew, my brother-in-law, just for fun because we wanted to try it out. Actually, well, I used to do racing properly, and then I was telling them about it and they wanted to try it, and so we started our own little club. Fine. It was 27 turn brushed motors, unless you were Scott, because he had a 19 turn, because he's a cheater. Apart from Scott, everybody else had 27 turn. Now, we want to go brushless, so 17.5 turn brushless is the obvious choice. but we're going to allow down to 13.5 turn, so that would have been a little bit faster. This has got a 17.5 turn Cheetah censored brushless motor. Censored brushless system from Cheetah, actually. Just a budget brand, but perfectly good. It's nice and smooth. But it's slow as dirt. It really is. And one of the reasons it's slow, okay, I put the 17 turn in it. I could have put in the 13 turn, 13 and a half turn. We could have allowed that. We were going to allow it. And my Lossy is going to have it. But this is sort of like a club car. People borrow it. People who haven't done racing yet, try to try it out. I don't know if I'm going to sell it yet, but I don't want it buried into another wall at high speed and broken again. However, I also don't want it to go really slow. So, that was one of the reasons. Second reason is, parts are now rare. Very rare. They're a bit like hen's teeth, although not nearly as common. And I need to get a new spur gear when I recondition this. The spur gear was ruined. Spur gears are specific to this car. You can't just fit any spur gear. So the only spur gear I found that I could get at the time was quite a large one. And if you don't know, you probably know that fitting a small pinion gears things down, and fitting a larger pinion gears things up. You gear it down, it accelerates faster, but at low top speed. You gear it up, accelerates slower, maybe overheats, has a higher top speed. So you've got to get a balance. Fitting a big spur is the same effect, roughly, as fitting a small pinion. Fitting a big pinion is the same as fitting a small spur. So, small pinion gears down, big spur gears down. So this has got a big spur gear. I had no choice, it was the only one I could find. It has a massive spur gear on it, which means it's naturally geared lower. So that's one impact. I can't change the gearing too much because the spur gear, I don't have an option. Another thing that happens when you have a big spur is there's only so much space you can fit. So you can compensate a big spur by fitting a big pinion, but not if you can't physically fit a big pinion because the big spur's taking up all the room. I can't move this motor any further away. So this, I think it's a 20 tooth pinion, 20 tooth, is about as big as I can fit. Might just squeeze a 21 in there, but I've got a funny feeling it'll be jammed straight up against the spur. I don't want to do that. I think I tried it actually a few years ago when I reconditioned it. So the point is, I'm stuck with the gearing as it is. I could gear it down more to give it even more acceleration, even less top speed, but I can't gear it up. And anyway, this club that we're going to race it in, this car's not, although I'm going to try it outside, it's not for running outside. The club is indoors, so the high acceleration is spot on, it's what you want, but you do want a little bit more top speed because it barely scraped past about 15 miles an hour. That's too slow. So what I'm going to try, rather than this Cheetah 17.5 turn censored brushless motor, I have this one, Turnstar by Turnigy. Now this is again budget stuff. This is probably about £32 or something. I can't remember. Got it a few years ago. I never got around to fitting it. 13.5 turn. It's not fast, or rather, it's not expensive. And actually, 13.5 is not that much fast. Anyway, you can see here they do down to 3.5. So you imagine that compared to a 13.5. But it's actually nice enough. Adjustable timing, but I'll leave it as standard. It has the sensor port there, which is fine because it's similar to what it is there. Some of the other motors have got two, so you can pick. But anyway, it looks okay. I'll need to do a little bit of soldering. We'll see what it's like. But before we see what it's like, let's remind ourselves what the other one was like. There's still batteries in this? Yes, there are. Probably leaking acid by this point. Okay, on buttons there. This is a loud fan if I remember. Yep. So it's still working. Nothing there, is it? It's slow. Super smooth though. Man, that's sweet. That is so smooth. That is lovely. Lovely, lovely. I did recondition all the diffs and everything. Oh, I like it. It's such a good car. Cool. So, let's get this thing fitted in. We're going to use the same 20 tooth pinion because I have no choice. Unless I want to gear it down more, which I don't. This should naturally have a bit more pace. 17.5 turn down to 13.5 turn. Should be a bit quicker. It's red. Red things are faster, as we know. So yeah, we'll give it a shot and we'll pick it up once it's fitted. Okay, so that wasn't exactly the plan. It's quite a long time later because my big soldering iron has failed and the small one isn't up to the job. So I had to go out to B&Q and buy another one. And it's not the best soldering in the world, but it's now done. So fingers crossed, we've got a working car. One reason why it might have been slow as dirt is the Leopard seems to be quite a weak, limp-wristed version even for a 17.5 turn brushless motor. Because if you see here, it has the kV rating, 1870, 1870. That's quite low even for 17.5. To give some context, this is the Trackstar box, the box for this one. The 17.5 turn version of this, rather than 1870, has 2270, 400 kV more. So, you know, it's not an insignificant amount. It's 400 more when you start from 18. It's a good percentage of it, if that makes sense. We may have gone a little bit overboard because this 13.5 turn version has 3040, 3040. So we've gone up from 1870 to 3040. Yeah, it's quite a hike. So actually, it might be a little bit too quick now, if there's such a thing. But it's certainly a lot quicker than it was. So let's just give it a quick test. See if all's well. Turn that on. There we are. Nothing. Oh, here we go. I should just say, there will be a little bit of rattle more than likely between the spur and the pinion now, because the spur's plastic, the pinion's metal. They bend into each other, don't they? They bend into each other. And if you change the motor over, you won't get exactly to the same microscopic amount. It won't be in exactly the same position, so they'll have to sort of rebed in again. So it might be a little bit rattly. I was worried there, we had nothing. Well, it works. You shouldn't have too much problem with cogging because it's censored. No, not at all. Look at that. That's perfect. Reverse doesn't have as much control as you'd expect. Nice one. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell whether that is much faster just from listening to it, because the combination, the combination of that very quiet and these very quiet censored brushless motors, plus this really, really smooth drivetrain, it means it's you don't really get a, you know, if I put a brushless motor that's faster than my Outlaw, you're going to know about it, you know. But this is just so smooth and quiet that it's very, very difficult to tell. I mean, it must be, like I say, 1870 up to, what was it, 3040. That's a hike. Is there a power wattage rating on this? No. Anyway, so there we are. It even comes with a free sticker, this Trackstar. Turnigy Trackstar. Seems good. I mean, the kV rating's pretty good. The lack of cogging is lovely. I mean, that's going to be so controllable. I mean, that's typical censored, but that, you know, this is a really cheap censored one. I think it was definitely less than £40. I'm sure it was. So that's pretty good. I was planning on running it today, but it took so much longer than I expected. I haven't had lunch yet. The sun is just dipping below the clouds, so I think I'll leave it for another day. If you are interested, please tune back in and we'll see what this old Yokomo can do now that it's got a bit of power behind it. And witness the beautiful handling of this old machine. I mean, to wrap it up, I just want to say, obviously, things move forward modern touring cars are a lot lighter, they have more adjustability, they have, you know, chassis balance has improved, especially since this used to be the thing with the electronics down one side and the battery down the other. It doesn't really apply as much now because batteries are so much lighter than they used to be. But this beautifully set up in the right hands, that would give so many modern touring cars a fright, it really would. Anyway, thank you for watching, take care, and I'll see you later. Okay, I've been banging on about how smooth and sweet this car sounds, and I thought as a bit of bonus footage I would show you what I mean. Tell me that doesn't sound like a brand new car. That might sound as good, even possibly better, than the HBI Pro 3 that I reconditioned a few years ago. Oh, it's amazing. Anyway, thank you for watching. Again, take care. I'll see you later. Bye.